last week? They did, through SBC, they did a trip up north working with some different groups up there, and I thought maybe I'll have them share a little bit this morning. But before we begin, let me just open with a word of prayer, and then we'll get going with these two. Father, this morning I want to come before you, and I'm asking that Holy Spirit, you would come, you would stir in our midst. I think that especially that you would stir within Matthew and Erica, Lord, just the things that you have taught them, the things that you would remind them of, just the things that they saw, just things that help them to articulate just the things that you did on this trip. And Father, I just thank you so much for just this opportunity to hear of your heart and the things that you've done. I just want to pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, I will start with Matthew, because they were both at SBC, but they went to two different places. So I'll make you go first and blaze the trail, if you don't mind. So tell us a little bit about just when, where that you went and some of the things that you guys did.
Okay, as many of you probably read in those newsletters that I...
Sick.
Is it not on?
It's on.
It's on. Quiet. It's very quiet. There we go. Now I can hear myself. So yeah, as many of you probably read in that newsletter, actually multiple ones I sent out, we started up north on the 18th. We drove up to Midway Bible Camp. And from there, my group went to Thicket Portage. It's a small town, size of Larrivere, if not smaller. It's about an hour southeast of Thompson. And our professor, Gord Penner, his dad has spent Gord grew up north, and his dad did a lot of ministry up there, and so we stayed with one of his colleagues up there, Norman Dorian. He is one of the best men I've met up there, and essentially our trip was just a week-long retirement vacation. It was just chilling with an old man all week and working for him and playing with kids at the school and teaching them. And how in depth do you want me to go here?
How big was your group?
We had 4 people, including myself, one of my buddies from the dorms, Stephen Penner, and then we had one of the commuter students, Malachi Reimer, and his wife joined us.
So what kind of ministry is this guy involved in that you were staying with? Like what's his calling? What's he doing up there?
Norman has been in Thicket Portage for actually all of his life. He's been born and raised there, and he did share his faith story with us. He came to faith, I think, in the 90s, and so as he came to the faith, he started just ministering to the town by living there, helping people, and he's on the school board. He helps with the church as much as he can. He's not as spry as he once was. He's recovering from a surgery he had 10 years ago now, and his ministry is just living with the people. I'm not exactly sure how else I can describe it.
So what kind of things did you guys all do within that community? And was that an indigenous community primarily, or what kind of community? What was the makeup of the people you were with?
Yeah, it was a mostly indigenous community. There was actually one missionary family that's been living there they came from Germany. They've been there for about 6 years, I think, now. And so they've been doing a lot of, actually, Edgar, he's been basically the town handyman for the last 6 years, just doing basically everything around town. What did we do there? One of the first things we did was we shoveled Norman's roof. We only shoveled, I think, three roofs we did there, which doesn't sound like a lot, but to them it means a lot to have some young students come shovel their roof. We split wood for the church. Their church runs off a wood stove, so that was something new to experience. You walk into this old church at 2:30 p.m. I may add. We learned about Northern Time up there. They don't really run by the clock, so. And also, it takes a while to heat up a church with a wood stove. So yeah, church starts at 2:30. Sunday school's at 6:30. So yeah, walk into a church and you just smells wood burning. That's it. So yeah, yep, split wood for the church. We led Sunday school for the kids. It was almost like a youth night. And may I add that there aren't any teenagers up there. The school, it's a small school. They only go K to grade 8, I think. Yeah, K to 8, and then the teenagers go live either in Thompson or in Cranberry Portage.
So how big was the community, and kind of just in relation, how big was this church? Like how many people would attend?
Church, my poor estimation would be about 30. So yeah, throwing in 4 students, we made up about an eighth of that congregation. So as our professor said, that sometimes you'll be entering a community where you double the population of the church, or the congregation. We split wood. I'm trying to think of what else. We went to the school. We helped out the teachers there. There's only 3 teachers at that school, and they have to teach a handful of kids in all sorts of age ranges, and it's hard for them to teach up there. And so being able to take some kids out of the classroom and just do one-on-one reading with them was a blessing. I didn't spend a whole lot of time in the church or in the school. Most of the other students spent at least an entire day there. I was the guy that Norman picked on. He loves to just pick on one student as soon as he gets there, and he just looked at me and pointed at me. And yes, it was an honor to be his, just to serve him, and in the school as well as working with the kids, we actually got to work with not really work with the teachers, but we got to encourage them, and actually our group prayed for a lot of them and helped answer some questions. I know one of them, we were answering questions she had about the faith, and we actually gave her a Bible on the last day, and that was she was so emotional about that. It was so sweet.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the things that kind of shaped your thinking on this trip, or what is there anything that shifted in your mind on your preconceptions before versus afterwards? How did the Lord use that to just form your thinking a little bit?
Oh boy,
it's a Dorothy kind of question, by the way.
Yeah, I was thinking about what did he do in my heart? What did he do over this trip? And I think the biggest thing I can take, or that I can remember from taking, is that the Lord watered the seed of, I guess, not vocational ministry, but
just your heart for ministry.
I'm struggling to word it. Ministry just by living with the people. There's probably a word for that. I'm blanking on it. But yeah, just living in the community and helping people that need help and talking with them and sharing the faith with them if that ever comes up. Just building that initial connection first and being able to just share our humanity. might be a weird way to put it, but that's been that was an issue that the indigenous people were facing just throughout history, is that the government and the church back then were trying to strip their humanity, and as you build the connection through humanity, then it opens up the door to all kinds of ministry.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Was there any, like one thing that kind of opened your eyes to that whole topic, like wanting to do life with these people and sharing as opportunities come up? Was there something that happened or a particular event where that kind of came alive for you? Or
I don't think I can point to a single point in the trip where that happened. I know two of our Malachi and his wife, they're social. His wife is very extroverted. It was great to have her where she could just talk and open up conversation. And Malachi, he could ask the questions, like where am I going with this? I'm trying to figure that out now. Yeah, just throughout the trip, I got to witness them just bring up the faith in conversation. The conversation just started because we were helping them, or we just started talking about one topic and then just got into life stories. Yeah, I can't think of a specific point where my eyes were open like that. It just kind of gradually peeled open.
Was there any kind of like a verse that really stuck out to you, or a theme that kind of really resonated in your heart through this trip, or because of this trip, or or a new resolve coming home? I guess you shared a little bit about just learning to do life with people and learning to weave your faith into that. But was there anything else, like a theme, time in worship, verse that really stuck out to you that was really special?
One of Norman's iconic sayings that we got to experience over the trip was, "It'll be okay," and that immediately makes me think of that verse. I forget where it is. Maybe 1 Corinthians, where Paul says, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has its own troubles," and essentially just. Sorry, Dorothy. Where is it? Do you remember where that verse is? Matthew 6:3. Was that Paul or was it Jesus? I can't remember.
Jesus, yeah.
Okay, as a
Sermon on the Mount.
Bible college student, I should remember that, but okay. But yeah, actually, I did put that in my in that newsletter, in that report letter I sent to Terry. So apologies for getting that wrong, but yeah. Essentially, just take it easy. And I know that's hard to do in our Southern culture, where we just have a lot of stuff to worry about, work and family, and everything's running on a schedule. But just learning not to worry too much about just not worry too much about the future. We just take it easy, I guess.
Okay. No, thanks for now. I will give you a break, and I'll turn to Erica here. So where did you guys end up going, and type of work that you guys did?
Okay, so my group, there were 5 of us. We were in York Landing.
Where's that?
York Landing is about 2 hours, I believe, east of Thompson, I think. What was the question again? What do we do? Yeah, okay. So it's a small community. It's about the size of Crystal City if you also removed all the farmers, so like just the people in Crystal City, I guess. So pretty small. And so what we did, we spent some time at the school there, just kind of as like EAs, I guess, which was really cool. Taught a kid how to draw X's, so that was fun. Taught one girl decimals and percentages. I hope she understood. I don't know. So we did that, which was really, really cool.
How old were these kids? Like, what kind of school?
It's a K-12 school. We were in a few different classrooms. I was in the nursery for one morning, so that's like age 4, and then grade 1 and 2 for a bit, and then also I was in the 7 and 8s for a while. So we were just kind of everywhere, wherever they needed us. They said they really appreciate the help because those kids can be very rambunctious, but they're so sweet. Oh my goodness. So we spent some time in the school. We also did a gym night on Monday nights. We just played floor hockey for like 2 hours with them. It was so fun. And we also spent a long time just like in people's homes, which was something that was so cool about the community, is that like how we would do it, we would just show up at a door of someone we never met. We'd knock on the door and be like, hey, like we're connected with Midway or whatever. Is like we want to visit, and they'd invite us inside immediately, and we'd just stay there for like 2 hours talking, listening to stories and all that. And it was so incredible how welcoming the community was, because like here, if someone just like knocked at your door and they're like, hey, I want to talk for 2 hours, you've never met me, it's be like, well, no, like you can call me and we can like make a time for that, but no. But like every interaction we had, like there was no calling ahead, or like we didn't even know the people. We would just show up and we'd be invited in and we'd just sit and talk. And so that was just really, really incredible. Most of the people that we connected with were believers up there, and so in that we learned so much about what the church looks like up there, and just specific parts of their stories. And yeah, it was a lot of listening, and that was really incredible. And I think that's where so much of our learning came from, was just like sitting at the feet of these people and absorbing the wisdom that comes from them, and just helping that shape our view of a lot of different things, I guess.
So you said Midway, is that like a ministry or a church up there?
Oh, sorry, yeah. That's a Bible camp. Yeah, Midway Bible Camp. We spent a night there on our way up and our way down. Pretty much all of their campers are indigenous from the different communities there. I think in York specifically, I don't remember who it was, but they pay for the kids to go to Midway, so a lot of them go there. And so the name of Midway has a lot of respect in the community. They know they do good things. They love it. So having that connection. Also, the current director of Midway was the principal at the school in York Landing. So his name has a lot of respect as well. He came in with us on the first day to give us a tour and get us connected. So being connected with him, like he just has so much respect in that community. So just like having that little bit of information basically opened the door for us to like do anything, which was really, really cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So is there a church in York or not really?
There is a church. There's an Anglican church building there. A bit confused about how regular their services are. So like same with Matt, it's at 2 p.m. They let you sleep in on Sunday, so that's cool. Can maybe learn a thing or two from them, but whatever. Anyways, I'm not quite sure how regular those services are. The church is pretty scattered there. There's a solid group of believers, but it's hard to say how much they connect with each other. I think a lot of them do individually, but it doesn't seem like there's a ton of group meetings, which is, I think, something that is a major struggle for believers up there, is that they have their faith but they have to do a lot of it on their own, because there's not a very consistent, like, organized church service and whatever every day. And I think that was also a really interesting learning experience of seeing what the church looks like when we don't have the physical church building. Because, I mean, we all know church is the people, not the building, but seeing that when we actually don't have the building is something that I've never experienced, because anywhere I've gone, even like Mexico or Brazil, like there's always the church building. You know, you always have that place you can go. And so what does the church look like when you don't have that building very consistently? And so I think our group realized how blessed we actually are to have this as like a very consistent thing. Like, I know I have my church family back home. I know that. And I know that if something were to happen here, like there's so many places that you could go to have a very solid connection with believers, and how much that like fuels your faith is so incredible. And so it's very interesting seeing, like, meeting these people, and their faith just has to be completely their own, or they'd meet with a couple of the believers because they're friends, and there's one woman we talked to. She has like a phone call Bible study with her friend every single Sunday. Her friend, I think, lives in Thompson, so every Sunday they get on the phone and they do Bible study together. So that was really interesting to see how the church actually does work and how it does happen when you don't have that consistent gathering of a body of believers, and seeing how important that is, but also seeing how, like, God is not restricted to having the church building, that he will still move through a community and he will still grow that community, and it will flourish even without something like this, because God does not need this building. Like, we are the church, and that was just really incredible to witness for the first time in a way.
That's really cool. So tell me about, like, these homes that you went to visit. Were these Christian people, just random people in the community? What, like, did somebody point you to those homes to go to knock on those doors, or how did that all go? And what were some of the conversations that you had?
So Morgan, the director of Midway, he brought us in on the first day, and he gave us a tour of York, and he, like, pointed at houses, and he's like, "That's Shirley's house. She's a believer. You can visit her. That's Candace. She's a sister in Christ. You can visit her," and whatever. So he just, like, he did that, and we're like, okay, trying to, like, take a picture of these houses in our minds and trying to figure it out. And so then, yeah, later we went to those homes and knocked on the doors and just kind of went in. So yeah, one woman we visited with was Shirley, who's maybe in her 70s. I'm not quite sure. She has, like, her grown-up children and her grandchildren, and she also has two young foster sons. I think they're 12 and 15. So that was very interesting hearing about that, how they got connected, and a bit of their story of where they were before, and then being with Shirley. And so yeah, she's a believer, and so our group met with her twice. I was only there for one of the times because we would split up a few times. Yeah, so that was, I'm trying to remember what we all talked about. She talked a little bit about about York Landing and how that all started, because they were a relocation from York Factory. There was something with Hudson Bay Company, and they wanted the land, and so they got relocated in, I think, 1957. And so, yeah, I think she was alive for the relocation, so whatever math that is for how old she is, I don't know. And so she talked a little bit about that, and how that affected people in being relocated. And York Landing is not the only, a lot of people, okay, sorry, it's confusing. York Factory, and then they came to York Landing, and then some people also went to, like, different communities, so different communities close by, they're all from the same place. And so, yeah, she talked about, like, how, like, showing up at York Landing, and there was literally nothing there, and they had to completely start from the ground. And also how she's learning about her family just now, because a lot of people were split up in the relocation. Some people were, like, sent to the wrong places, and so she's now learning about a lot of family that she has very close by, but that she was just completely unaware of, because when everyone moved, like, people just kind of got lost, and some of them were just, like, assumed to be dead, and it's like you don't know where they are and don't even know where to start looking for that, because you're in a new place. So she talked about how she's finding family, like, every day, and looking in the communities close by, and she's learning about that. So that was very interesting. And she was in a residential school in, I believe, Dauphin. So she talked a little bit about that, not a whole lot. The one thing she mentioned is that her mom passed away while she was in the school, and just like, when she found out she was sick, she was in the infirmary, and, like, they came in, they're like, "Shirley, we're sorry, but your mom has passed away." And that was it. She was 11 years old. There's, like, no one gave her a hug, no one comforted her. Like, that was just kind of all there was. So she did mention that. Other than that, wasn't a huge point of conversation. Talked a lot about her son. She's like, he's a good kid, but he's a follower. So, like, he doesn't lead, he's a follower. So talked a bit about him. We were able to give both of her sons Bibles as well. So that was cool. We prayed over them.
Foster sons?
Yes, foster sons. Yeah, and then Candace as well, we met with her. She's heard about, like, God her whole life, but I think making her faith her own has kind of been more of a recent thing. She was very, like, almost insecure in her faith. There was a lot of times where she's like, "Is that okay that I'm doing that?" And we're like, "Yes, you're good. But she was a wonderful woman. She invited us over for supper, and she made us caribou, which was delicious, by the way. And yeah, she's very excited about her faith, and she wants to share it, but she's very uncertain as to what is okay to do. But she was a really cool person to meet, and she said that she meets with Shirley a lot too, so that's really cool because I feel like mentorship is so important.
So how did Shirley come to know the Lord?
I think similarly, she was just kind of like heard about it her whole life. I think she said her mom made her go to church every Sunday or whatever, and so that is one thing that I wasn't expecting. Is a lot of the faith stories up there is actually very similar to what you'd like have down here. Less, I think a lot of us were blessed with just growing up in solid Christian homes where our parents taught us about faith, and they didn't necessarily have the same thing, but a lot of like parents just telling like it is important to know God, and hearing about that, and eventually making that their own, and spending time in the Word. And that's one thing Candace talked about a lot. She's like, I read my Bible every single day. Every single day. It's like, yes, that's awesome. But I think that may have been more covered in the interaction with Shirley, which I wasn't there before. But it sounds like more of a gradual kind of thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So what were some of the more life-shaping moments for you, or was there any kind of events that really shifted some of your thinking or perceptions of what you had before versus after?
I don't know if this is the answer you're looking for, but we saw Northern Lights one night, and they were the most incredible Northern Lights I've ever seen in my entire life. They were like pink and purple, and they were dancing so much. It was the entire sky. It was so bright. I have pictures later if anyone wants to see them. They're incredible. And also, it was minus 37, and we didn't get cold at all, which was honestly a God moment because our faces were completely exposed, and we were not cold. But I've never been so in awe of something before. Me and my one friend, we spent the entire time like on the ground, because every time we would stand up, we just end back up like on the ground. Like it's hard to stand in that, and I feel like it shaped my perception of God so much. In the sense of like it was so beautiful, and knowing that is still just creation, and how the creator has to be more beautiful than what he's creating, and being so in awe of that, and realizing that it's the God that creates that loves me, and that loves us, and that loves the people of York Landing. And I feel like something that it was so hard to leave York, because it feels like there's so much more to do and so much more that needs to happen, but it's so comforting, like looking at the Northern Lights and being like, the God who's in control of that has his hand over York Landing, and he is here, and he is moving within the people, and he loves them. He chooses to love them, and the lights themselves are like a representation of his love, because he doesn't have to do that. Like the sky could just be black and boring, So I feel like that was very comforting, and very eye-opening of who our God actually is and how incredible he is. Another thing was maybe being at the school, meeting the principal there. She's a Christian as well, and she's such a kind, wonderful woman. Oh my goodness, I miss her. We were there like right before school started, and she was like, I have to go do the announcements. We say our prayers and everything. And she mentioned something about the Lord's Prayer, and I thought it would be just a very routine, like it's in the morning, Our Father who art in heaven. But it was just like a full, genuine prayer, like, Lord, thank you for the students, thank you for the staff, like praying for guidance and whatever. Like over the intercom every single morning is what happens. And that was really cool, because unless you're homeschooled, you're not going to get that in the schools down here. I never once heard a genuine prayer over the announcements in my entire life. So that was really cool and very unexpected, I would say. But yeah, that was very neat, and they have a very large focus on kindness in that school. They recognize that like bullying is a problem, and it is a problem within their school, and that and they know how much that shapes people, and there's such a heavy focus on just love and relationships and kindness, and God as well. There were several like posters throughout the hallways that mentioned God specifically, which I was not expecting, and that was really cool as well. Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, you wouldn't find that in our schools down here, would you?
No, you don't.
That's really cool. What any verses that really jumped out at you that really became real special to you?
I don't know about during the trip, but afterwards, I think it was one of our professors, I really can't remember, but the passage was mentioned. I think it's in Acts 1 when Jesus says, like, go to Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And he was saying how we're really good at Judea, of where we are, of our ministry here. We're really good at the ends of the earth. We love going on those mission trips. But what's Samaria? What's the place that's still close enough not to be super cool that you're going there, far enough away that it's out of your comfort zone, and also potentially a place with long-standing, I don't know if animosity is the right word, between the people. I mean, you know how they felt towards Samaria, and I think there are some similar feelings towards the indigenous peoples and their communities. And it's a place that's kind of avoided. Saying that I'm going up north is not, no one's like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. You know, there's nothing of that. But it's somewhere that we're commanded to go. And it's a beautiful place. And God is doing so much work there. We did not bring Jesus there. Jesus was already there ahead of us. And it was incredible. We learned so much. I think the amount that we gave, we received so much more there. And yeah, I think just realizing that it's so important to go to those places and to learn, because like our brothers and sisters are up there. You know, I came home knowing much more of my family because there's so many brothers and sisters up there who I now know. And I can call my family because I know their names and I know their hearts. And I'm just so thankful that I could go up there because it changed me, it shaped me. And I don't know if I'll be able to go back, but I hope so desperately that I can. Before we left, Professor Gord said, the danger of going up north is that you might leave your heart there. And I thought, like, okay, sure, whatever. It's true. There's a piece of my heart that stays in York Landing and with my brothers and sisters there. And I'm just really, really thankful that I could go there. And thank all of you for everyone who was praying for us. We felt your prayers so much. This was a trip that was covered in prayer. And thank you so much for everyone who was a part of that. We appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Erica. Any other last thoughts from you, or are you worded out?
I don't know. There's definitely a lot we can say, but I think as our professors told us, you can come find us after the church. We can share some of the stories that we have about going up there.
Oh, okay, thank you. So just to kind of weave in some themes that I'm hearing this morning that have kind of actually been part of my last, 8-9 weeks in my own life too. I'll start with Northern Lights. So just as right before Christmas, I was flying into Winnipeg, and the guy sitting beside me was the number 2 of all of Costco. So massive organization. This guy was from San Diego, and he come in to Headingley for the grand opening. Winnipeg is their second biggest Costco globally. Maybe if Mennonites like to stock up and big stuff, I don't know. But so, I mean, this was a guy of extreme affluence and all these things. And, and I always kind of pay attention to, Northern Lights forecasts and those kinds of things. I always seem to notice those. And so as we were coming into Winnipeg, he had the window shade down. And I said, being from San Diego, have you ever seen Northern Lights before? And he goes, no. I said, and we were just kind of circling over Winnipeg on the north side. And I said, you should, and we're on the right side of the plane. And I said, you should look outside at your window. And he opened it up and he just went quiet. Like, being, at 30,000 feet, or we get a little lower at that point, but just to see the Northern Lights from up above and no, light pollution at all from down below, like he was just in awe. He couldn't believe it, and I said, yeah, it's a pretty awesome what God has all created. And you could just see that there was just this, I have to think about this, like there is something that I have to think about. And I don't think that he was in a place in life where he thought much about it, like he kind of had really built this empire and this life for himself. And but it was just kind of one of those moments that really caused a thinking. And I thought it was interesting just when you mentioned Northern Lights being significant. I thought for me in the last little bit it was too. And then the other one was, I met some people in the last 2 weeks. I was down in Australia, and Australia is an extremely secular country. And I had two brothers, drive 8.5 hours to come visit me where I was, which in Australia, that's driving lots is very normal. They would drive probably 4 or 5 hours for good ice cream or something. It's just how life is for them. But these two brothers drove 8.5 hours to come see me, and they didn't know why. Like, they just kind of felt like they were supposed to go. Didn't quite make sense because it was so far in such a short time, but they got families and work going back home. And so anyway, I spent a day with these guys, and kind of partway through the second part of the day, some of the lingo you pick up on, it's like, I think these guys might be believers. And so we started asking some questions, and sure enough, these two brothers are believers. They very dedicated in their faith, so I started asking about their church community, and kind of like these communities are talking about, like their church was 30 people, and about 5 of them weren't family members. So you imagine, and they started asking about our church, and church I attend, they could not wrap their head around it. Like they wanted to come visit. They want to come here and just, how big is your community and how big is your church? And they're not family members, and this whole thing, and just the starvation for a Christian community that I think we take for granted sometimes. I took for granted. So then, and these two guys, if you guys are on YouTube or follow social media people, it was the Jackson brothers. They're on YouTube. They're Australian influencers. They run these D11 dozers, and they do some farming on the side. And so anyway, then I met another guy. We were kind of the 4 of us together for about a day, and he had just come to know the Lord in the last weeks before I met him. And so I started asking him a little bit about, his community, what kind of church can he get connected with, like where does he go for stuff? He says, well, my church or my community has church once a month. There's 3 seniors that come by and do church. He said the music is awful, and it's just the 3 people, and it's once a month. So there's really no community that he can be part of, And so, and so they're always a day ahead of us. So since I've been back, like every Sunday morning for him, he's texting me just about stuff he's reading or trying to learn, or just it's just like his concept of church is maybe going to be through WhatsApp and reaching out to a few people. And so, so just kind of interesting opportunity. Church might be for us a WhatsApp group with a few people that I could add into the conversation just to help. Because these guys have nothing. Like, they're so remote. They're so, they have no way of connecting with people. But how do you build community? How do you find others with? It's just it's a real challenge for them. And I think probably like the people you faced, I think we can't take for granted being in amongst other believers like we have it. I think, I didn't realize maybe how unusual that is. We get so used to this, but going to the major cities in Australia, yes, there is churches and stuff, but it's not like we would have here. So, so just some of the themes that I think have been on my heart a little bit, probably the same as what's been on your guys' hearts as well, and what you've realized. And so, it's amazing how you can still learn to reach out and encourage people. Just a simple word or text can mean so much sometimes to some of these people that don't have a chance to be part of other communities. So, these 2 brothers in particular, they're just like, now I understand why we felt like we were supposed to come, just to meet another believer and just start a new relationship and be connected with more. And of course, they love farming and machinery and stuff like that. And so to start connecting them with some other people here in North America that are like them and also believers. And so it was kind of a very, I even wondered, because I was there for just a few days, and I was like, this is a lot of travel for a couple of days. Is it even worth it? And I came home and was like, yeah, absolutely, it was worth it. I see God had some other things in mind. It wasn't about just the business side of it. So anyway, thanks you guys for sharing. Really appreciate it. Really cool to hear about it. I'll just like take a moment and just pray for you guys and pray for us, and we'll be dismissed. Father, this morning we want to come before you, and I'm so grateful for the things that you're doing. I thank you for just the opportunities you had for both Matthew and Erica here, just to experience you, to experience your people, your, just the steadfastness of people in communities that are harder, quiet, where they feel very alone and isolated sometimes, and overlooked, and yet their faith in you is so steady. And we thank you for that. Holy Spirit, I ask that just as both Matthew and Erica process just their last week and the things that you did, I just ask that you would continue just to remind them of the things that you've taught them, that you would just, make certain verses come alive, just speak to them about your heart for these people. And Father, I just really ask that you would continue to just open their hearts to who you are. I just ask that in a special way. I ask for that spirit of wisdom and revelation so that they would know you more. I pray that for all of us, that we wouldn't take for granted our brothers and sisters around us, the heart you have for people. And Lord, we just, thank you, and we love you for the things that you're doing. I pray these things in your name.